When we see athletes and celebrities appear in the spotlight, they're often wearing expensive clothes, driving expensive cars, and living in expensive houses that make a lot of us wish that we lived the same lifestyle that they lived. We all think, man, these guys have got so much money, they're never going to face financial difficulty for the rest of their life. They can buy whatever they want and do whatever they want. But that is not always the case. From time to time, stories do come out of celebrities or sports stars that have gone broke and maybe are now working a normal everyday job as a result, which is a real shame. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how sports stars and celebrities can go broke and how they're not immune from it, and what I would do if I was in such a position to ensure that it didn't happen to me. Let's get into the video. Welcome to Millionaires with Money. My name is Johnny and thank you for joining me for this video. Now in the intro I mentioned athletes and celebrities. I am going to focus more on athletes in this video as I believe their financial situation is a little easier to assess than the likes of musicians, than the likes of actors and actresses, etc, etc. But the principles that I will discuss in this video can be broadly applied to the latter groups of people as well. So let's get right into it. So when we think of professional athletes, we tend to think of the Cristiano Ronaldos, the LeBron Jameses, the Usain Bolts, the very best of the best, who are excellent athletes, they're very good at what they do, and they make a lot of money from it. However, the very best of the best represent such a small percentage of all the professional athletes out there. Let's take a couple of examples and we'll start with the NBA, so the Professional Basketball League in the US to begin with. So the top paid player in the 21-22 season, according to ESPN, is Stephen Curry, who will earn a whopping $45 million this season. The average NBA salary, various sources put between $7 to $8 million, which again, that's a lot of money. However, when you think that that is probably inflated by the top players that you'll see there, the likes of Stephen Curry, the likes of LeBron James, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, who earn close to $40 million a year, you often forget that there are a lot of players who are on the NBA's minimum salary, which is, again, still really high. But it's about $925,000 a year. So there's a big gap there. And for our second example, we're going to take a look at some of the football teams. You can see that the top clubs across Europe, such as Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Juventus, PSG, have incredibly high average salaries, which can often make you forget that some of the lower clubs don't always have the same amount of money to be able to pay players, and the average salary in those clubs will be a lot less. Now, if we were to draw a simple conclusion based on just the economic data, we would say that all professional athletes on any of these teams are doing incredibly well financially as a result of what they earn. But that's only part of the picture. The case that is LeBron James and Cristiano Ronaldo. Remember, as we said, these are athletes that are at the top of their profession. They've been stars on their team pretty much since the day that they first began playing. They've been dominating their respective sports for nearly 2 decades now, and they've seen very stable, lucrative careers. And that's not necessarily the case for some of these lower paid players because of the roles they play on their teams. Some of the players who maybe are the backup for these guys, who play on the bench, who are perhaps playing on some of the lower teams in each of these sports divisions, maybe don't have the same stability as Cristiano Ronaldo or LeBron James. They maybe jump from team to team. Remember, professional sports is very, very competitive. You have to be at the top of your game all the time, and coaches and teams won't hesitate to cut you or drop you if you're not performing up to scratch. So, as much as you're earning well today, within an instant that could be gone. And not only are professional sports highly competitive, the period of time over which you can make money as a professional athlete is also significantly reduced because your body reaches its physical peak typically in your late 20s. And by your 30s, mid-30s, late 30s if you're lucky, your body is typically starting to wind down in sports like basketball and football, and you have to think about retiring. So even though you're earning a lot of money, if you're very good and you're very fortunate, you'll perhaps have a 10 to 15 year earning window, maybe 20 if you're one of the very fortunate ones. Some athletes are more financially literate and more financially aware than others, and those that are not are the ones that tend to suffer the unfortunate situations that we mentioned in the start of the video, where they perhaps go broke, they lose all their money, they have to return to a normal everyday job, so to speak. And the stories that we hear about where athletes have gone broke and have perhaps had to return to a normal job is typically because they've made lifestyle decisions and have maybe not had such a prudent and proactive approach to managing their money well over the course of their careers. Making decisions such as letting that big paycheck go to their head, seeing dollar signs in their eyes and buying the first fast car, the biggest house, the most expensive clothes that they can. They perhaps start to go out partying and think they live in the good life, which not only does that get expensive, it can of course lead to unwanted situations. It can damage your image, and it can deter your focus from your profession, which is ultimately professional sports. And that of course requires a lot of dedication and is a lifestyle in itself. And coupling those two together often means that any investment decisions are poor. They haven't given much thought to it. They maybe let someone who's not so trustworthy manage their money, or they've simply spent all their money and they don't have money to invest, money to save towards their financial future. So with everything taken into consideration that I've said up to this point, how would I manage my money if I was a professional athlete to ensure that my financial legacy was preserved over the long term? The first thing I'd do is I would live below my means. Now don't get me wrong, professional athletes have worked very hard and they do deserve to treat themselves every now and again. However, the problem is of course this lifestyle, let's call it lifestyle hyperinflation, that comes as a result of becoming a professional athlete. We've talked about lifestyle inflation in previous videos on this channel, where things gradually creep up, your standard of living, the things you buy gradually creep up, but lifestyle hyperinflation, as I want to call it, the big money comes in, boom, all of a sudden you got the most expensive everything. No, I would keep my living standard relatively modest, where as much as I could. I would drive a decent but not too flashy car and perhaps buy a modest property. I perhaps wouldn't even buy a property, depending on what my role and position within the team was. Because remember, a lot of athletes also change teams over time, and buying a property, although you can rent it out as a professional athlete, unless you've got someone managing that for you, that's obviously going to be a lot of hassle to take care of. Next, I would invest and save the majority of my income. I would make sure that it's invested probably in dividend paying stocks. Because of that reduced time period of earnings that we've said, I'd like to see those investments grow, but also that they can pay me enough dividends to be able to sustain my living once my sports playing days are over. LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal have both invested in various businesses over the years and have seen their stakes grow as a result, and I believe they also earn passive income from those investments. The third thing I would do is I would invest heavily in my health and fitness and my sports ability. Because although sports careers may not be that long, the more work you put in, the better you take care of yourself, the better the chance you have of securing a good role and a long career within the sport that you're playing. Things like injuries you don't always have control over, and there's only so much you can do about that, but you can control what you eat, what you consume in your body, how much time you spend in the gym, on the football field, on the basketball court, working on your skills, how much time you spend sleeping so that your body gets recovery. The more time you spend investing in your craft, the more it will pay off and the more likely you are to have that longer sustainable sports career. And the last thing I would do, somewhat similar to the second point, is I would find multiple streams of income. Of course, a lot of athletes have sponsorship deals, whether with major sports brands like perhaps Nike, Adidas. They maybe have sponsorship deals with restaurants or other brands as well outside of sport. You might even consider launching a YouTube channel, document your lifestyle as a professional athlete, or cover a hobby and then monetize it. But yeah, being able to not rely solely on your athlete salary, for as big as it is, and have other sources of income will be sustainable once you finish the sport, and will be more income that can keep coming in and sustain your living once your playing days are over. So this video is a bit different. I hope you guys found it fun and interesting. Why not leave a comment and let me know what you would do with your money if you were a professional athlete? Now check out these videos, and if you're not yet subscribed and you want to see more content like this, then make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you don't miss a single update. I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.